Next, we'd like to call up Quentin Klaban from IRG Action Fund for information only. You may take the floor.
Hey, everybody. Quentin Klaban, IRG Action. We are the advocacy and lobbying partner of the Institute for Reforming Government, a Wisconsin-based think tank that works to give all students an opportunity to prosper. Education is central to that prosperity, which is why IRG has worked on science of reading reforms, teacher apprenticeships, expanding high-performing schools, and oversight. So my claim to fame on oversight is I read 500 emails from January 2023 to April 2024 describing the process from DPI, describing the process of how they determined test scores and report cards. So I encourage you to read Testing Our Patients, if that title gives my view of it. Additionally, I may be one of 20 people who did read the 436 pages of the ACT and Forward document that DPI mentioned earlier, which I summarized here. So please use these 6 pages, and I'll try to save you time. I'll just highlight a few things. First, as far as we know, standard setting came up in January 2023. Superintendent Underly seemed to arrive at it independently of knowing that there was going to be kind of a natural standard setting process. As you'll see in the document, she disliked the NAEP set high standards that Wisconsin set because it made our proficiency rates look odd or lower than the states around us. Secondly, I wanted to point out that this largely just includes like a timeline of both public and private information on forward and report cards. I did want to point out, secondly, Director Soma Sonaram mentioned in an April 2024 report that test score changes disproportionately negatively affected low-income districts. It would increase and it did increase racial achievement gaps, the visibility of racial achievement gaps, income gaps, special needs gaps. So as this audit takes place, considering the quality of application of these changes could be really helpful. One bit that was zoomed over during the forward standard setting process that I wanted to key in on. It was mentioned that other states' test scores were brought into the conversation. I think the main opinion presented by DPI of changing the standards in the first place, to quote Superintendent Underly, until last year, we were teaching in pounds and measuring in miles. To quote Deputy Superintendent McCarthy, it is like trying to use a thermometer to measure the length of a 2x4. I'm not sure what bringing Lansing and St. Paul's test score standards, that seems to be doing that same sort of thing. If you flip to kind of the end of the document, you'll see I would say, large shift in forward exam cut scores that occurred once people could observe both the standards that they were setting and the outside standards coming from other states. And then lastly, one thing worth mentioning on the end, and I'm sorry that it's more negative. I swear I give a neutral, timeline of events here. But on the last page of text, thinking about the reasonability, which is a standard for test scores, I think it's worth looking at some of the districts that people would perceive as high performing and then taking these new standards literally. If people are meeting, they are at grade level, and if they are below that, they are below grade level. That would mean 1 in 5 Whitefish Bay students entering high school, can't tackle Treasure Island or The Wind in the Willows. That means Kohler spends $20,000 a year, but has 1 in 6 students who cannot read. I don't know how many people in that room believe this, but I think if we're taking these scores literally, that they are now aligned with Wisconsin standards and that they are much more accurate than the previous standards, I think it's worth examining districts like that. So please peruse these 6 pages, and please reach out if you want to know a summary of the 400 pages.
Okay, so now working back, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Klaban? Representative Hong.
Thank you so much for being here and really giving us some extensive background and additional interpretations and about the changes